Alexa, turn on my gaming.
ሁሉንም ኮምፕሊት አድርጓል። በቃ አሁን ሰላም ጋይስ እንዴት ናችሁ? አለን ዛሬ እንደተለመደው በሌላ ቪዲዮ ብቅ ብለን መተናል ማለት ነው። ዛሬ ደግሞ $50,000 ጌሚንግ ሴትአፕ ነው ማሳያችሁ። ሪአክት እናደርግበታለን ማለት ነው። እንዲህ አለ የሌለ ማለት ነው በቃ እና እስከ ቪዲዮ መጨረሻ እዩት። ይሄን ቪዲዮ ከመጀመራችሁ በፊት ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ መጨረሻ ላይ ከተመቻችሁ ላይክ ታደርጋላችሁ ማለት ነው። አያስከፍልም። እስከ ቪዲዮ መጨረሻ ቆዩ። መጨረሻ ሴትአፑ ማለት ነው ይለያል ነው የምላችሁ። ወደ ሪአክሽኑ እንግባ።
I'm about to transform this ugly empty room into the most
Almost
every room in my house has a gaming setup in it, as I'm attempting to build the ultimate gaming house. And this is the last room without one. But as you can tell, the current state of it is not very good. The walls are completely damaged, the carpet has stains and junk all over it, and you literally have to shoulder check the door to get inside. Oh my gosh, dude. This door is literally falling apart. Time in a room that looks like this, it's time to fix some things up. I first started by heading over to Home Depot, where I picked up all the things I need to turn my absolute abomination of a room into a modern masterpiece. But before I could even begin, I already ran into a problem. Alright, so I got pretty much everything I could possibly need, such as a new door, doorknobs, paint, and even an entire roll of carpet. But as a 20-year-old man who builds gaming setups for a living, I don't know how to professionally lay carpet. The Home Depot crew were booked out for another 3 months, and I needed to complete this room in the next week, as it's almost been 4 months since my last upload, and I'm not making y'all wait 3 more months or settling for duru-stained carpet. So after doing a deep dive into Craigslist, I found a handyman that said he could get it done today. And after a full 8-hour day of him getting rid of popcorn ceiling, blasting the ceiling to be painted, and replacing the old nasty carpet with the new stuff, this is what it ended up looking like, which was already a huge upgrade from before.
This is so much better, dude. Oh my gosh. I love it.
With the first step, the rest of the room is now up to me, and that meant finally turning this disgusting blue, white, and semi-pink room into a really nicely painted gray one. I kind of wish I would have painted the walls before I got brand new carpet laid, but I guess I'm just gonna have to be really careful to not drip this all over the place. And I guess next time I'm filming one of these videos, I need to also be very careful with saying things that I end up completely jinxing myself with. Are you kidding me? Bro, I already got it on the carpet. Oh my gosh. That didn't last very long. Well, guess I gotta go to Home Depot again. This time around, I made sure to not cheap out on the tools I was using. Fancy extendo paintbrush. There was a process go way smoother than what had just happened. The last time I painted a room on this channel, it ended up turning out absolutely horrible. So I was dialed in this time to make sure that was not the case with this room, as I got real precise with every inch of these walls. I'm not even trying to self-glaze here, but
አሁን ይሄ ላይቱን አብዞርብ ያደርግላችኋል። ነጩ ግን በየሌላ ነው ሪፍሌክት የሚያደርገው። አይነፋም። ሪንግ ላይት ምናምን ስታደርጉ ከላይ ከጀርባ ያስጠላል።
But before we get there, it is currently 8:20 after finishing this room, and I am exhausted. So I am gonna get some rest, but tomorrow that'll lead us into putting on something way more exciting than paint. As you can tell, I did paint both of these walls, but I left these completely alone because since both walls are completely damaged, I did attempt to just paint over it to see what it would look like, and it left all these funky so I know just a thing to cover up both of these walls. It's gonna look a whole lot better than just paint. If you've watched my videos before, you know my favorite type of decor in a room is these wooden wall panels. And since this time around, I actually have damaged walls that I need to cover up, what better time than to actually be able to use them? When putting these up though is that they're typically a few inches too large compared to the wall, and I normally pay someone a few $100 to cut them for me every time. But today I decided to learn something new and attempt to do it on my own. I'm pretty tired of just paying people to do things for me just because I'm scared of possibly messing it up myself. So today we're stepping a little out of our comfort zone. I'm going to attempt to finally cut these wood panels that I use in almost every single one of my videos on my own. That might have been the most satisfying thing I have ever done in my life. But I do have 18 more to go, so I might be here for a while. Well, a little bit of time has passed. I started this project at 11 a.m. and it is now almost 8 p.m. So this definitely took me a little longer than expected. The way I did it probably wasn't the correct way to do it, and there's definitely an easier way to get it done. But I'm just proud to say I at least did it all by myself this time. The only reason it did take me so long was because I spent a lot of time on precise cuts to fit around multiple outlets and these awkward spots above the closet too. That officially wrapped up the actual room upgrades. It's now time to finally fill this room up. So as I said at the start of this video, I want this room to literally be the craziest gaming setup you've ever seen. I may or may not have gone a little overboard with everything I ordered for this video. I promise you I'm not just a slob and just have a bunch of random boxes everywhere. This is quite literally everything going in this room. I don't even know where to start. So I figured to make the process more organized that I should move all of the furniture boxes into the room first and start by building the base of the room. Considering that almost all of the furniture I'm about to have to build came from IKEA, I genuinely think I'm about to fly through this because last video, me and Jaden literally put together an entire IKEA dresser with 0 instructions. I've pretty much mastered building this stuff by now. And I wasn't wrong, as I am building the other two feel like an absolute breeze. I then cleared the room of all the empty cardboard boxes and positioned the drawers where I needed them to be able to accomplish this unique desk design I have. This looks like the weirdest orientation you've ever seen before, but that's because this time desk, but I'm actually turning it into 2. But to even make this possible so the entire desk can be flush, two Alex drawers, dill legs added to the corner to perfectly hide behind this middle drawer to give me a huge custom L-shaped desk. Well, now that all the annoying IKEA furniture is out of the way, all that's left on the furniture aspect is this flexi spot standing desk. I ain't scared of nothing, really they come from nothing. Sports and they the same as all the With both of these desks now complete, that officially marks off me having to build any more furniture in this room, which I am very grateful for because it's currently 1:42 in the morning. So with yet another step checked off, getting me closer to building my dream gaming room, this then moved us on to the next phase, which is the decor. Whenever I was first planning this room, I really couldn't decide if I wanted to make this an all-white setup or an all-black setup, so I decided why not just do both. Now, if you've watched me before, I have never in my setup building career left a blank wall behind a gaming setup. So since I already filled up that entire wall with wood wall panels, I decided I'm going to do one side with these black 3D wall panels and the other with the white, so I can make kind of like a yin and yang looking setup. I think it's gonna look sick. Putting up these panels is normally extremely easy, but this wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't somehow always run into a problem. You're lying. You're actually lying. There's no way I did that. I was setting all the panels on the rows they're supposed to go, and I literally ran out of panels. I don't know how I miscalculated that. I immediately went to my office in a panic, hoping I had extra, as when I checked Amazon, it said they wouldn't be here for another week. But it ended up working out perfectly. In my tech closet. Oh my gosh, thank the Lord. This is exactly why I buy extra stuff for other videos. I just save myself. So after finishing up the last white row of the panels, I thankfully didn't run into any issues on the black panels, and I think this design ended up turning out even better than I had originally thought it would. Although it does look really good, I definitely don't want to leave just this awkward gap in between the ceiling and the panels on both sides. So I came up with the idea when 3D modeling this room to correlate color matching floating shelves above each side of the panels. And although this is a great design idea, I don't think it was the best decision for what I had to go through to get it done. Like I'm actually getting mad, dude. This might be the most frustrating thing I've ever done on this channel. It felt like no matter how many holes I drilled into the wall to reposition the shelves, there was always this constant sag in the corner, making the two shelves not align perfectly, which was driving my mind insane. But after literally taking the shelves off and on 4 different times and trying a bunch of different ideas, I was finally able to get it to work. Oh my gosh. Did that take so much time? There's actually so much footage I'm gonna have to cut of me putting these up because this video would have become not family friendly. I'm super grateful I was finally able to get this to work, but now I'm faced with yet another. As you can see, there is this little gap right here on the black side. And sadly, for how small it is, there simply just isn't a fix for that. So it's just gonna have to be something I deal with. But over here on the white side, that is a much bigger gap. And luckily, I bought this little mini lac shelf that I'm gonna try and hang up there and try my best to make it as even as possible to almost make it seem like this gap was never a thing. After having a very long and frustrating night, I was thankfully able to use the last 2 brain cells I had working in my brain to do the math and make the right measurements to end the day on a high note. Oh my gosh, I did it! I freaking did it! That just made my night. I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. I don't care. This perfectly teed it up for me the next day to load these things up with a ton of items that not only color match each side of the setup, but genuinely mean something to me and my personality. Now, here's where I'm about to completely go against what I just said about putting things in a setup that means something to you, because the other day when I was looking for things to put on this shelf, I found a Halo helmet and a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet. Now, the issue with this is I grew up playing Halo. I mean, it was some of the first ever YouTube videos I ever posted. But I realized when putting it on the shelf that the blue doesn't really match well with the white and black. And that's where this Stormtrooper helmet would match perfectly considering it's white and black. Now, the problem with this is I've actually never watched Star Wars in my life. So, like I said, I'm about to completely go against what I just said and put something up here just because it looks good. To finish off the decor aspect of this room, I added in a few necessities that I felt were missing and helped this room to pop even more, especially in this empty corner, because later on in this video, I'm putting one of the coolest things I've ever seen in this spot, so I needed the wall to is coming together really It feels a little The only pinch of color in this room is the fake plus the green on this Funko Pop's head. So the best way to add some color to this room is by adding all of these lights. I'm honestly a little concerned for my electricity bill now. I firstly started by lighting up the entire gaming setup, which is where about half of these lights are going. And although some people nowadays in the setup community say that too much RBG is tacky, I believe if you know how to utilize the lighting placement and find that sweet spot right before it becomes too much, it can make a room look absolutely incredible, especially when you start tapping into personalized lighting. Although I'm super excited that I finally get to hang up this sign with my name on it, I'm just hoping it's worth the $700 price tag I paid for this. Kinda thinking I got scammed. So after getting this car payment, I made sure to take advantage of these panels on the setup so that I could perfectly hide these cables behind them to have a much cleaner look, which finally meant it was time for the grand reveal of the lights. Okay, so literally every single box of lights that you saw earlier on that desk are now plugged in all around the room. So like all turned on. Alexa, turn on the lights. This looks freaking sick! Holy crap, just runs together so good! After realizing how much blue was in this room thanks to the lights, I decided to replace the Stormtrooper helmet back with the Halo one, and I think it looks so now that I've absolutely torched my electricity bill, it was time to move on to the next phase, which is filling up this standing desk. I'm sure you thought that this was just going to be another gaming setup in the room, but that's actually not the case. As a full-time content creator, I've always wanted to have a dedicated spot that I can film all of my videos while having a really cool backdrop that I don't have to set up and take apart every single time I want to film a video. So I decided to go all out and build the ultimate content desk with the best gear possible. Sony did send out their InZone M9 Mark II for the display in this setup, and a huge thanks to them for doing this, as the specs this thing comes with are insane. if you want to snag one for
እንትና ብቻ እኮ ነው
yourself,
ገና ዋናው ወደ ዋናው አልገባም ማለት ነው።
now, although I did get the best of the best gear when it came to building this setup, I not only wanted it to work great, but look great as well with a ton of cool decoration. And since I'm someone who highly values the quality of content I produce for you guys, I went even more out and bought a second FX3 paired with my dream camera lens and even a $1,500 studio microphone. I don't know who I'm feeling like spending all this money, but y'all please comment W setup because my bank account is feeling it right now. So to be able to recover from all this hefty spending and save me some money for my lighting, this carries us into one of the sponsors of this video. Elgato did hook me up with this key light, and it's actually insanely clutch for the exact thing I was going for with this aerial setup, which is to save as much room as possible while still being completely functional. Every time I'd go to film a short form video in my previous gaming room, I'd have to move around all my lights, plus this huge dome light that took up so much space. So having something this small that can pack that same punch of light without ever having to move it is exactly what I was
ላይቱ በጣም ነው ደስ የሚለው። ከሪንግ ላይቱ ላይ ይሻላል። እኔ በዚህ ልቀይሮ አስቤያለሁ። ሪንግ ላይት ትንሽ ብቻ አላጠራቀምና ዋጋቸው እኩል ነገር ነው። በዚህ ጋር ሪንግ ላይት አድርጌ በዚህ ጋር ደግሞ እሱን ባረገው ላይቱም ይበልጣል ከሪንግ ላይት።
I got this brand new iPad simply to act
ሪንግ ላይት ዝም ብሎ ለውበት ነው እንዳትገዙ። ይሄንን ገዙ ማርያም።
It's now going to serve another purpose as well because I was able to download the Elgato Control Center app and connect to the key light where I can now make all the adjustments I could ever need for completely free. So if you're looking to be a content creator like me, I highly recommend checking out one of these in my description. So as the last few finishing touches to the aerial setup, I added a few more decoration pieces onto the desk as well as cable managed, which meant the last missing thing was the chair. Okay, I've been so anxious to open this package specifically, and the only reason I've waited this long to open it up on camera is because Herman Miller chairs actually come pre-built. So whenever I get this up, apparently it should already just be built inside and I can just roll it out. So let's see if that's true. Oh, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. That might be the greatest unboxing I've ever experienced. All right, setup. Considering I spent $900 on this chair, it better be the most comfortable chair I've ever sat in my life. Okay. I don't know if I like this. I mean, it looks really good, but I don't know if I like this. I don't know. Maybe it'll grow on me. With the content setup officially finished, it's finally time to fill in this
content setup
racing sim will be going here in this corner, but it's not going to be this one. Originally, I had planned for it to be this one, but as you can tell, it's very much so a beginner level racing sim. And if I want this to be the ultimate gaming room, I can't put this funky looking weak old racing sim in here. And that's why whenever I was planning for this video, I did a ton of research to find the absolute best racing sim possible, and that's when I ran across this. The Club Sport GT cockpit by Fanatec, which looks so sleek, but is going to take me a total of 5 really heavy separate boxes. Once I got everything opened up, I found myself running into a problem I seem to have pretty often in these videos. There is no instructions. Why does this always happen to me in my videos? Companies just don't put instructions in my boxes. I truly believe that. That doesn't even make any sense. I right away went to look up on YouTube if there was an in-depth tutorial on how to build this. I was confused to see that the only video I found was 5 minutes long and gave no genuine help at all. So after searching through all of the boxes to see if I had accidentally gazed over them, I ended up noticing this on one of the boxes. These are literally the instructions. Instructions I have ever seen. After getting the QR code scanned, I got straight to work building the cockpit. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys for a split second, this might have been one of the hardest things I have ever built for a video before. The instructions were clear and I was following each and every step to a T, but there was over 230 steps to building this thing, and by the time I finally finished getting it into place, I literally fell asleep in the cockpit, which carried us on to the next day. Moza did send me out their R5 bundle, and I bought myself the GSV2P as well, so I can have the two different types of driving experiences with this. And luckily, getting everything screwed onto the cockpit was fairly easy, except for when I somehow ended up in this awkward position.
There's a pedal in my armpit right now.
So with the base of the racing sim now complete, all there was left to do was add in the finishing touches.
Almost all the parts in the sim require you to plug them into a PC for it to work. And considering I barely even had enough give with the wires in this little area,
I have never tweaked out this bad in my life, bro. It doesn't reach.
I can't imagine trying to make the cables reach all the way across this desk to the PC in the dual gaming setup. So I decided to buy a pre-built dedicated just for the racing sim.
And thankfully the sim came with an add-on PC tray because I literally would have had nowhere else to put this thing. Now, for those who do care about specs, it has a 4060 GPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM, all powered by the Ryzen 7 9700X, which officially leaves us just one last thing to finish off this racing sim.
My first ever time racing sim was at the Meta PC facility, and they had 3 monitors hooked up to them. Nothing has ever been able to top that. So since I obviously don't have the room in this little corner to attempt to put 3 and get as close as possible to that with a 40-inch ultra-wide monitor. Golly, I spent a lot of money on this video.
But once I got the monitor all hooked up onto the sim and to my likings, the money I spent on this room was already starting to feel so worth it, as driving this thing feels almost as cool as my C8 Corvette. With almost every step now checked off to build the best gaming setup on the internet, that leaves just one last thing to do to complete this room.
I have never been more excited in my life. After all of the trial and tribulation I've faced when building this room, today is finally the day. And that's to build the actual dual gaming setup. Let's do it. Oh!
The first thing I did was get all the monitor arms attached to the desk, as I was able to load this setup up with nothing but OLED monitors, which may or may not be extremely overkill, but one of the monitors specifically that I use stands out to me most.
This is Samsung's 27-inch Odyssey OLED G81SF gaming monitor, and even though it's extremely slim, this thing is packed full with some crazy specs. With the 4K display, 240 Hz, and 0.03 millisecond response time, the monitor brings not only fast and smooth gameplay, but incredible looking colors that makes whatever you're doing on it look so good, whether that's gaming, watching content, or for my instance, even editing videos. Since I'm someone who doesn't like to game in completely dark rooms, I either have all of my RGB lights on or just some natural lighting. And this monitor thankfully has glare-free technology to make sure there are no harsh reflections on the screen, so I can stay completely dialed when gaming with 0 distractions. Now, for the longest time, I always swore I'd never get an OLED monitor due to the fear of it having a burn-in and me losing hundreds of dollars to a broken monitor. But that's where Samsung doesn't mess around, as they are the #1 OLED monitor brand in the US, and they made sure to include Samsung's OLED Safeguard Plus in this monitor, which reduces heat 5 times faster than graphite, specifically to prevent those scary burn-ins from happening. So overall, I'm really excited to be rocking the G8 as my main gaming monitor, and if you want to have it as yours as well, just head down to my description as you'll be able to find it there.
So to finish off the monitors and make them look even cooler than they already do, I made sure to add some Gobi backlights onto them, as well as the one over on the A-roll setup, as I forgot to beforehand, which now moves us on to the gaming PCs.
You can tell by now when I'm a very symmetrical person. If something is this way on this side, then it has to be the same on the other. So I've applied that exact same mindset to going in these freaking heavy. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you'd know that this is the exact PC that I've rocked in pretty much every single setup I've built for myself on this channel. And I think it's fair enough to say why. I mean, this thing is freaking beautiful. But how I've talked about this entire video, everything going in this setup needs 2. And the last thing I want to do is have the all black setup just have a generic boring PC. Meanwhile, the white one would look freaking phenomenal and completely outshine this side. So I'm sure you could see where I was going with that. And I bought an exact copy of the white PC, but
white PC
Oh my gosh! This is an incredible build. So whenever I bought this PC, I actually made a very costly mistake. And that's that I bought a 4060. I hadn't noticed it until this thing was already like halfway to my house. So I ended up having to spend even more money than I already did on a 70 and of course a black GPU backplate to match the white one. Swapping out the GPU being so wasteful of this brand new 5060. So if any of y'all want this for free, seriously, just let me know down in the comments and I'll host a giveaway for it. Today officially marks 2 weeks since starting this room. So let's finish it off by adding peripherals to both of these setups. For the mouse pads, the absolute GOAT Vermax sent me over some of his new ones that he just released. And these are by far my favorite mouse pads I've ever put in a gaming setup. They have crosses built into the swirl design, and as a first being able to have this in my gaming setup actually means a lot to me. So if any of y'all want to get these pads for yourself, you'll be able to find it in my description. For the keyboards, I'm using these Topo design ones from Hydra. Are these my favorite keyboards to use when gaming, but they actually match perfect with the PC cases and really together in general. I know the G Pro Superlights aren't really a favorite in the gaming community anymore, but I've been using this mouse since literally 2020 and it's never given me any issues, so I decided to pick up two brand new G Pro Superlight 2s, and I'm honestly really excited to try these things out. Now, with one of my favorite peripherals of all time being the Stream Deck from Elgato, they sponsor this video to absolutely deck out both of these setups. They're super helpful in keeping a setup look clean and not too cluttered, since you can easily tuck them away when you're not using them, as well as hide your cables in the built-in tray with ease, since the covers are magnetic. Now, for the microphones actually going on the boom arms are the Elgato Wave DXs, and of course, black and white. They look super sleek and minimal, and also sound to me talking to one right now. And last but not least is how Elgato Stream Deck Plus. Of course, it's helpful for actual streamers, as it literally has the word stream in its name, but I found these to be super useful in my everyday use as well. Being able to have quick keybinds to easily open tabs on my games, muting my mic quickly while in Discord is so helpful. There's also dials at the bottom that let you control each app's volume separately. You can turn your music without affecting upgrade your setup. You'll be able to find everything I just put in mine down in the description. This dual setup is lacking just one last thing, and that's to fill up these two empty spots. I decided to place brand new PS5 Pros there, mainly as filler and decoration pieces. But since PlayStation doesn't make a black PS5, what they do have is different colored plates that you can replace to make your own custom PS5. Now, before I fix this absolute horrible cable management, I almost forgot one of the most important parts to a gaming setup, and that's gaming headphones. So luckily, Sony was kind enough to send out a huge care package for me, which contains 2 pair of the greatest gaming headphones of all time. The Sony InZone 9 H2s, and of course, white and black for both setups. And I'm actually super excited to be able to try these out. So a big thanks to Sony for sending these over. So to finalize this setup, the last thing I had to do was just tidy up beneath the desk with some cable management. And with that, Alexa, turn on my gaming.
እና ጋይሶች የዛሬ ጌሚንግ ሴታፕ አችን ይሄን ይመስል ነበር ማለት ነው። እንደተመቻችሁ አልጠራጠርም። እንዲህ በቃ ምን ልበላችሁ፣ እንደዚህ አይነት ጌሚንግ ሴታፕ እኔ አይቼ አላውቅም። እናንተም እስከ ቪዲዮ በመጨረሻ በማየታችሁ በሌላ ቪዲዮ እስክንገናኝ